Okay, so let's start an introduction to drilling fluid. Are you able to understand me, or you want to, should I speak slowly?
Yeah. It's okay. It's okay. You can go on like that.
It's okay. Yeah, done. So, let me give some basic thing. Then we'll go one after the slides. I don't know whether you have seen any drilling rig or not. When you
Drilling
drill
rig.
a well, have
So,
you visited any rig? Have you seen any rig?
yes, I've seen a rig, but I've not been inside.
Okay, okay. So if you go to any drilling rig, you'll find uh, there is a fluid circulates that from the tank it goes inside the hole then comes back. That fluid is called a drilling fluid, and some people use the term mud also. And earlier they're using the term mud, but nowadays most of the people have started using the term drilling fluid instead of mud. Okay, so if you go one by one, let's one by one see why you are using it. You see, the purpose of using anything, there has to be a reason for that. Just don't use anything wasting a lot of money. Okay. Now if you go to the next slide, I'll just yeah. So this is the uh, why you are using a drilling fluid. What is the purpose? Now when you drill a hole, we go like supposing you are drilling a hole in the wall to put a nail in the wall. What you do, you take a drill bit and drill a hole in the wall, or in a wooden furniture if you want to drill a hole in the furniture. So you
Yeah.
take a bit and drill a hole in the furniture. So you need a bit for that. Here also, while drilling a hole in the earth surface to explore oil, you need a bit. So you see the picture, the one at the bottom is the bit. Okay.
Okay.
Now when you drill a hole in the wall or in a furniture or anywhere, what you do, after drilling some time, you pull the bit, then put some water to cool it because it gets heated. You can't touch it. Supposing you drill a hole in your furniture also with using a small bit, drill bit, and after the drilling it, if you touch the bit, it feels very, very hot. So sometimes what people do, they put some water there to cool it down. So here is also same thing. When we are drilling a hole in the earth surface, what happens? It, because of the frictional forces, it gets heated up. So when it gets heated up, you need to cool it. So the one of the purpose of the uh, drilling fluid is to cool that bead. You have to cool that bead. Now what happens? Let's compare. It'll be easy for you if you compare drilling a hole in the wall or in a furniture and drilling a hole uh, in the earth surface. Now what happens when you drill a hole? First, to cool it down, so we put some water. Here also putting some drilling fluid to cool it. Next is that after drilling some time, what you do, we try to bring those cutting which is inside, either to blow some air or we make a reverse rotation so that those cuttings will come out. So the purpose here, because the hole is small, you can blow so it comes out. Here you cannot do that. So the purpose of the drilling fluid is to bring the cutting. When you drill, there are cutting, a lot of cutting is generated, and that cutting has to come out. How it will come out? The drilling fluid helps in bringing the cutting. So that is second purpose. Okay. Now, so this is the remove of drill cutting. Here you see remove of drill cutting. Okay. Now, then the lubrication of the bit, because when you drill a hole, it gets heated up. Plus, it needs some lubrication. Without lubrication, what happens? The bit get damaged. So, the purpose of the drilling fluid is to lubricate it. So, first to cool it, lubricate it, and then bring the cutting to the surface. Okay. Then what happens when you drill a hole inside? the earth's surface, as you go deeper and deeper, there may be oil, gas, or something inside, maybe water also. So those things will always try to come out. So you have to prevent it, because while drilling, you see, our purpose is to drill a hole to get oil. But while drilling, we don't want that oil should come. We first finish the drilling, then the oil should come. So while drilling, the oil comes, then we face a lot of problems. Like you have must have heard the term blowout, okay, or activities, those things, those terminology you must have heard from some sources, from your friends or who are working in the oil industry. So this drilling fluid, because of the hydrostatic head, because there's a whole well is full of drilling fluid. So this drilling fluid, because of the pressure, it maintains, it will not allow the oil and gas to come into the hole. So prevent flow of oil and gas while drilling. Okay. Now, next is that while drilling, because of you are reducing the pressure, those hole may start collapsing. It may fall down. Those rocks may fall down. Okay. Now you must have seen, if you see a well, water well drilling, normal water well, not the tube well, normal water well digging, not say drilling, digging a water well. You find those, while they're digging the well, they find a lot of things fill up the hole. So people physically they remove those debris to clean the well. Here also what happens, those debris may fall down. So this drilling fluid, because of this pressure, it will not allow the hole, the debris to fall into the hole. Okay, it will not allow the collapsing of the hole, they call it. Okay. Then what happens? This is another job. Okay. Now, prevent hole collapse, prevent rock dispersion, and loss of fluid. And what happens, the drilling fluid sometimes, you see in the earth, if you drill inside the earth, there may be some fractures, natural fractures are there. So the cutting or the fluid can go inside. So what happens, it seals the rock. So prevent the losses of fluid, because when the fluid should not get lost into the hole. So these are the different purpose of a drilling fluid. There are many other purposes. Okay. So the different purpose of a drilling fluid, why you are using it. So basic main purpose of any drilling fluid, the basic thing is to cool, to lubricate, to remove cutting, to balance the pressure, well pressure. These are the most important things are there. So our treatment of the drilling fluid is based on these things. Okay.
Okay. Yeah, you said drilling fluid is based on cooling. It's cooling the
Bit also.
yeah, cooling the drilling bits.
Yeah,
Also
cool.
to yeah, okay, and also to lubricate.
Right. Yes.
Yes,
Lubricate.
and then
Correct.
then to balance
Balance the pressure. Okay.
balance
The pressure, the well pressure. Okay.
Okay, okay. Then okay, balance the well pressure. Okay, all right.
Okay.
Okay.
Now, next go to the next slide. This is just for your purpose how it looks. I have given the photograph. There are two types of mud. Yeah, I will come to those things later on, maybe in our discussion. That is, you can know it. Just immediately know it. One is WBM. What is WBM? That is water-based mud. And another is
Okay.
OBM. That is oil-based mud. Nowadays, some people use the term SBM instead of OBM. They're using SBM. SBM is synthetic-based mud. Okay, what is water-based mud? That means the main phase is the water. That means while preparing these water-based mud, you take water, then add other chemicals and products into it to prepare such a fluid. So the main phase is water. Okay. In a OBM, the main phase is the oil, not water. Main phase is the oil. So nowadays, earlier they are using in OBM, you are using crude oil or maybe diesel oil. But now they have started using some synthetic oil. So they are using the term SBM also. The main phase is that one. And into that phase, supposing you take water, you are preparing some food in your house, you take water, then add rice or other vegetables or something like that to prepare it. So here the main phase is water. Here is also main phase is water. Then you start adding all these chemicals and products to prepare a drilling fluid like this. Okay. So this is how it looks. You see the drilling fluid, go to the rig, you see such type of things flowing. That's why it is called a mud. The reason is that it color is like a mud, clay. The color is like a clay. That's why it's called a mud. But nowadays people are not calling it mud. People are calling drilling fluid. Okay. But still this term is used. Oil-based mud, water-based mud. People use the term instead of saying oil-based drilling fluid or water-based drilling fluid. So OBM, WBM, these terminologies are used also. Okay. It has not gone out. Now, let us come to one by one. So what happens? Let me tell you some, just some, okay. So many people have asked to join. Okay, just let me see. Okay. 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 Some people are waiting. Just a minute. Let me admit them. Okay. Some people want to join. Okay. Now I've admitted them. And just a minute. Who else are there? Okay. Sorry. Because some people have sent this thing invitation to join, so I have admitted them. Now, what happens? Let me tell you the story of drilling fluid. What happens when the oil well drilling started? Maybe it's about more than 100 years back, more than 100, 150 years back. So at that time, they are just using water. So just drill the well, pour some water. But when they started using water, they faced a lot of problem. So what they did, they started adding some clay from the nearby ponds into the water and make it a bit viscous. So after making viscous, they found things have improved. The problem they are facing has changed. But nowadays, at that time, the mud engineer was not very important person in the rig. There are like what you call ordinary people used to be high, not qualified people. Mud engineers not very qualified. Not even maybe some school completion, less than school, some 4th, 5th, 6th standard pass out students used to work as mud engineer. Okay, they are not calling them mud engineer, they used to call them mudman. Okay, because it's not a specialized subject. Nowadays mud engineer has become a specialized subject because the drilling fluid has improved a lot of things have been, lot of new chemicals have come, people are starting facing problem. You see what happens when they are drilling the well. In old days they are not drilling very deep, they were maybe drilling few hundred meters. So the problem was less. Now we are drilling 5,000, 6,000, 7,000, 8,000 meters well. So we have more problem. So when you face more problem, you want to make some special things, special product are used. So when you use everything special, then you need some special people also. Those who are qualified, those who have background in science and chemistry, who can understand it. Otherwise, they face a problem. So drilling fluids is becoming very specialized. So most of the companies have now mud engineers. They have a full-time mud engineer. Earlier there was no mud engineer full-time. They used to call mudman, and the drilling person working in the rig were doing everything. But nowadays in the rig, there is a 24 hours mud engineers is present always, because a lot of things have changed. With the lot of specialization have come. Now, and the mud engineer is responsible for testing the mud and for prescribing mud treatment in order to keep mud weight, properties, chemistry within recommended limits. What happens when you start drilling a well? We prepare a mud program, that is called a mud program. In the mud program, everything is given. What should be the parameter? What are the different? We'll go to the parameters as you go in the discussion. So, what are the different parameters are there? Okay, and what are the different testing you have to done? What should be the result? Those things are there in the mud program. So the mud engineer's job is to test the properties of the mud, and based on the properties and what is needed, like if you go to a doctor check your blood, and if the doctor finds there is something wrong in the blood, then you gives you some medicine. Okay, there's a limit. Supposing in the blood you should have like hemoglobin should be like 10 or 11 or 12, something like that. So if hemoglobin comes down less than 10 or it becomes 7 8, then doctor gives you some iron tablet. Like here also, when you test the mud and sorry, you test the mud, then if you find the parameters not within the range, then you start treatment. Okay, and must give detailed recommendation in order to optimize the achievement of technical economical drilling aims. Now, mud engineers also guide, help, and suggest the drilling people also how to drill faster, what are to be done. There is a team. The team works in the rig. Both driller, mud engineer, geologist, geophysics, everybody is there. There's a big team. They work. Their job is to drill the hole. So mud engineer also is a party to the team whose job is to recommend how to do about it, what problems are we going to face. You have a problem, how to solve the problem. This is the so nowadays mud engineers are always there in the rig. Okay, now if you go to the next one, you see drilling fluid functions. Here you see there are two columns, one is should, one is should not. So the function of the drilling fluid should be, you should remove drilling cutting from wellbore. Job is it should control formation pressure. It should maintain wellbore stability. It should cool and lubricate the drilling bit, and should transmit hydraulic power to bit. What is this hydraulic power? We'll discuss when we'll discuss about rheology and hydraulics. Now I'm not going to, because it's a totally different discussion. So I'm not going to put those things here. I'm just to listen to this one. In the when we have classes on rheology and hydraulics, we'll discuss about it. But drilling fluid should not hamper formation evaluation technique. Okay, this is again what is the formation evaluation, we'll discuss. Cause adverse effect the formation being penetrated, that is formation damage. So, and cause corrosion of the tubulus mean drill bit, casing, drill pipe, these all the whole thing is called the tubulus. Okay, so you should prepare a drilling fluid such that it should do these things like remove cutting, cooling, everything, but side by side it should not cause corrosion or damage the formation or hamper in the evaluation technique. So you must prepare a drilling fluid which solve this problem but should not have an adverse effect on these issues. So this is should and should not. Now, remove drilling cuttings from wellbore. How a drilling cutting is removed from the wellbore. So to remove the drilling cutting from the wellbore, viscosity is most important for the drilling fluid. What is viscosity? Viscosity is nothing but resistance to flow. Now you see water, viscosity of water, and you add to water different things like the gum, sticking gum is highly viscous. Okay. Now some of the fluids are very, very viscous. Okay. So viscosity and fluid rheological properties have a determined effect on well cleaning. Now, viscosity is very, very important for cleaning the well, because unless it is viscous. Now, supposing I'll tell you how viscosity is important. You take two glasses. In one glass, you take a glass of water. In other glass, you take some sticking gum, which is liquid gum for sticking things. Okay. Now, if you put sand in both the glasses, you'll find that the sand settles down in the glass where there is only water. But sand will not settle down in the glass having the sticking gum, because sticking gum is viscous and this is not viscous. So this is the same thing. Viscosity is very important for the cutting to come out. Otherwise, what happens? The cutting will start settling down. Cutting settles rapidly in low viscosity fluids. That's what I have told you. Generally, higher viscosity fluid is required to improve cutting transport capacity. So viscosity is very important too for the cutting to come up and not allow the cutting to settle down. The property related to viscosity is the just a minute. What is this, man? So many people are joining. Okay, no problem. Okay, so the property related to viscosity is thixotropy. What is thixotropy? There another new term we have come across. Thixotropy. Thixotropy means that a mud can become gel under. What happens when you take the mud, the drilling fluid, and without any agitation, you just, yes, please. It's not able. I think you have mute. Don't mute it. Your sound is mute, I think. Not able to listen. I'm not listening. I'm not able to listen to you. Please check your sound should be perfect. Have you muted it or what? Just a minute. Unmute. Unmute. Your sound is mute. Unmute it. Unmute the sound. Unmute the sound. You have muted it. Don't you unmute the sound.
Can you hear me now, sir?
Yeah. Now okay. Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay.
Yeah. Please,
okay.
Question. Anything you want to ask? Yeah.
This is you mentioned about
Thixotropy.
Thixotropy.
Thixotropy. Yes. Yes.
Okay. I got it now. Okay.
Okay. Got it? Okay.
Yes.
Thixotropy is a property where what happens when you keep the fluid without any disturbance, without any agitation, then it becomes the viscosity increases. Viscosity increases. As soon as you agitate it or disturb it, then it becomes the viscosity decreases. So this is what happens. You keep water in a glass for days together, nothing happens. There is no change in the viscosity. But there are some fluids which changes the viscosity, very viscous, but when you again agitate it, viscosity not come down. But in case of drilling fluid, it becomes, once you keep it without any agitation, without static condition, without any disturbance, it becomes viscous. Okay. But what happens once you start agitation, then the viscosity goes down. Okay. So this is called a thixotropy property of the fluid. So viscosity depends on concentration, quality, dispersion of suspended solids on the mud. You see what happened, how you get the viscosity. As I told you, in the water-based mud, we have water as the main phase. So in the water, we add some chemicals. I just name the chemicals now. There is one chemical called bentonite, which is nothing but a clay type of thing, powder clay, that is called bentonite. And another is called the what do you call this? There's some organic compounds are there. Okay, you add that thing, so that gives you the viscosity. Okay, that is called biopolymer, xanthan gum polymers. Okay, so if you have xanthan gum polymers, or gives a viscosity, or even bentonite gives a viscosity. So take water, add either bentonite or xanthan gum, you get the viscosity. So, and the viscosity depends on the concentration of the chemical they're adding. If you add lot of bentonite, the viscosity will go up. If you add less bentonite, viscosity will go down. If you add lot of xanthan gum, the viscosity will be too much. So you must know how much viscosity you want and how much you are supposed to add to achieve that viscosity. So there is a job of a mud engineers to know these things, right?
Excuse me, sir.
Yes.
You made mention of bentonite and the other one. I didn't get it. Xanthan gum. I don't know. I didn't get it.
Yes. Bentonite
Uh,
and xanthan gum is not here. The xanthan gum is also, it's an organic compound. It's organic
okay.
compound, xanthan gum. And
Can I
bentonite is, yes.
get the spelling of that gum? Xantho
Actually, okay, spelling is XAN. Okay.
AN.
Okay, let me write down here in the bottom of this thing. Can you see it? Okay.
Yes, I can see it.
Xanthan
Okay.
gum. Xanthan gum. Okay, you can see it.
Okay.
XANTHAN xanthan gum.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay,
Okay. Got it. Okay.
got it? Okay, let
Yeah.
me remove.
Okay.
And bentonite spelling, you know, bentonite is
Yes.
BENTONITE. This is
Yes.
bentonite. Okay,
Okay. All right. Okay.
now that's fine. So remove drilling cutting from wellbore. Next is velocity. Okay, you have to velocity, but you see viscosity is one thing which holds the cutting, but how the cutting will come up unless you move the fluid. Okay, unless you move the fluid, how the cutting will come up? So you have to move it. So then the question of velocity comes. So the rate at which mud is circulated will give you the velocity. Sorry. That will give you the velocity. So the higher the fluid velocity, the faster cutting will reach the surface. If you pump it very fast, then the velocity will be fast and the cutting will come to the surface faster. So here a terms come transport velocity. That is the angular velocity minus slip velocity. You see, these are the terms I will explain you in detail when we'll discuss about the rheology. So transport velocity means at what speed the cutting is coming up, which is depend on the annual velocity, that is the velocity at which the pump is running, and minus slip velocity means how the cutting will come down. No, you are running the pump, the cutting will go up, but cutting also has a tendency to go down because of the gravity. It will come down. Okay, so the, the how fast it is going and how much fast is falling down. So the difference between these two velocity is the transport velocity. Okay. Okay. Now, yes.
Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you see me?
Are you there, sir?
I'm here only. You are not able to see me?
Are you there, sir?
I'm here. I'm here.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I think the network just you know. Okay. All right.
Can you see me? Okay. Now,
Oh,
just a minute. Let
I think the
me.
network is bad. But I'm here.
Okay. Now it's okay. Now
I'm
you can
here.
see. Okay. Now, so this is called the transport velocity is the annual velocity minus the slip velocity, and these things we'll discuss under hydraulics when we discuss about it. Okay. Removal of drilling cutting oil particle suspension. Drilling fluid must also keep drill cutting suspension. You see what happens when you stop the pump. Now the velocity means when the mud is flowing. That means the pump is running, mud is flowing. But when you stop the pump, what happened? The cutting will start falling down. So the mud should have the capacity to keep the fluid in the suspension condition. When the mud is not circulated, it should be remain in the suspended condition. So the property that keeps the particle suspension is called the gel strength. That means what happens when where is it this fellow? Okay, are you missing somewhere? Yes, I don't know. Oh, just a minute. Yeah. Okay. So again, your sound is unmuted. Unmute the sound.
Okay, all right.
Don't mute it. If you mute it, I can't listen to you.
The Zoom is just automatically muting itself. Okay.
No,
All right.
okay. Because I'm not doing anything. It's up to you to mute or unmute. Okay. I'm
Okay.
not controlling it.
Okay.
Because I have not muted, because so that you people can talk to me. You can interact with any question you can ask me. Okay. Anybody,
Okay.
whosoever is there present in the class, you are free to ask question in between. I have no problem. Okay.
Okay. Mr. Srikant, the network got bad, so I am still stuck with the velocity, but I think we are through the velocity now. But can you come over to the particle suspension?
Okay, I'm coming to that. Yeah, particle suspension. I'm coming to that. What happens when you are running the pump? The mud is moving. When the mud is moving, the cutting is going up along with the mud. But supposing if you stop the pump, the mud is not moving. Okay. Sometimes to do some job, you have to stop the pump. When you stop the pump, mud is not moving. So whatever the cutting will have a tendency to settle down. Now, give you an explanation. Same thing. Suppose you take water, you add sand to that, then you start stirring the water. You'll see the sand will float. Once you stop stirring or just moving the water, you see that the sand slowly settles down. Okay. Same thing happens here also. We have the drilling fluid. If you stop the pump, then the cutting will start going down, settling down. Okay. And the property which is responsible for stopping the speed of settling down is called the gel strength. Okay. So that means, as I told you, supposing you are taking water and water has no gel strength. Now, if to the water you add some powder things, okay, some arrowroot powder or some flour or something like that, the viscosity will go up. And if you just hold it for some time, it will start gelatin. That means the viscosity will increase. Gelatin is nothing but the viscosity. When the viscosity increases due to static condition, it's not moving condition, static condition, then the gel strength will go up. So the gel strength is important for the keeping the particle in a suspended condition when the pump is not running. So gel strength required to hold the cutting in suspension should be no more than a required. However, when circulation resumes, the fluid must be fluid enough to release the particle at surface. You see what happens if a gel strength is very high, there will be a problem. Why? Because when you start again pumping and it comes to the surface, it should remove the cutting. It should not take the cutting again back. If the gelatin is very high, then the cutting will not get removed. Okay. So that is also very important. So this is the job of a mud engineer to control all these parameters so that you can remove the cutting. You see, very important thing in drilling fluid is that remove the cutting is very most important. Number one purpose is to remove the cutting. Number one purpose. Cutting the settles when circulation has stopped can cause breaches, and that result is stuck string. What happens if the cutting is not removed? the cutting is not removed, then, and if the gel strength is very low, the cutting will start settling down and will settle at the bottom of the hole, and it settles at the bottom of the hole, then you have problem of stuck string. That is called, some people use the stuck up, some use stock pipe, some stuck string, some problems are there. Okay, that's the problem you face if you don't remove the cutting. So in the drilling fluid, cutting removal is most important.
Your volume has gone down. I don't know.
My volume has gone
Your
down.
volume has gone down. I can hear you clearly.
It's okay now.
I can hear you clearly, sir.
You're not able to
Your
listen
volume has gone
clearly.
down.
I think you can increase the volume of your device.
I've
Mine
increased
is
mine. Mine is increased there.
mine is maximum. Mine is maximum now.
Hello.
Yeah. Somebody is writing on this thing. Please don't do this. I'm sharing this thing. Somebody is making some lining on the presentation. Don't do that. You have in this presentation, somebody has the blue lines are you able to see? Somebody is doing it. Please don't do this. Now it is okay. You can listen now. Is okay?
The volume is okay now.
What is okay? Okay. Now,
Can you
next.
hear me, sir?
Yeah, I
I
can
can
hear
hear
you.
you again, sir.
Okay, you can hear? You
I
can hear
you
me?
now.
Yeah, you can hear me?
I can hear you again.
What's up? There's some problem. Maybe with your problem. Mine is okay. Mine is okay. Now it's okay? Can you listen?
Mr.
Yeah, there is some disturbance from your side. Mine is maximum. The volume is maximum. Now it's okay? You can listen? Are you able to listen to me? Others are, what about others? Anybody else? Can you just tell me?
The volume is disturbing.
There is something wrong in your side, I think. You can just increase the volume. I can listen to you very clearly.
We can hear the instructor. Ebenezer, check your volume.
Yeah. Yeah.
What is wrong with the volume, sir?
I don't know. Mine is okay. I can listen to you. So are you able to listen to me or not?
Yes, we can hear you.
What's wrong with the volume?
You can increase the volume. Maybe your audio system is not okay. You check this, your audio system.
What's wrong with the volume, sir?
So mine is okay. I don't know. Because up till now I've been talking to you, no? You are listening to me. But now you are saying that you are not able to listen to me.
Yeah, the volume is just going and coming.
It's going and coming. It's okay? Now it's okay? Hello? It's okay now? Unmute it. Unmute it.
We can hear you. We can hear you.
You can hear?
Can everybody hear the instructor?
Everybody is listening. Can you hear me? Well, let me see. Can you hear me? I think there is something. Yes.
Are you there, sir?
Yeah. I'm here. I'm here. I can listen to you. There's something wrong somewhere. I think it's, you check your system. If everybody is listening, if you are not able to listen, then there may be some problem with your. You check your system, please. Check your system, please.
Okay, I can hear you now, sir.
Okay, hear me? Okay. So can you continue?
Yes, sir, we can continue now, sir.
Okay. So next comes the thixotropy. Thixotropy, I've already told you. the property exceeded by certain gels to becoming fluid when stirred. What is thixotropy is when it is not in a stirring condition, it again develop the gelation. When again you stir it, it again becomes fluid condition. So that is called the thixotropic condition. And the most important thing for a drilling fluid is that it should have the thixotropic property. Why? Because what happens when you start drilling and start the pump, unless the thixotropic property is there, then it will what happen? It should not. You see, those things will come when we'll discuss about the rheology and hydraulics of this thing. So thixotropic property is very, very important for a drilling fluid. If it is not thixotropy, supposing it becomes viscous, and after the viscosity will not go down when you start drilling, then you can't drill it faster. And suppose it will not become viscous when you stop drilling, in that case, your cutting will settle down. So most of the drilling fluid have the thixotropic property. And you can see one term here, shear thinning. Shear thinning means when you stir it, shear it. When you stir it, then becomes the thinning means the viscosity goes down. When you stir it, when you do, that means when you run the pump, you give a shear to that, which helps in the fluid to becomes the fluid for going down, the viscosity go down when you shear it. So this is called a shear thinning. Fluids with high viscosity are most effective for well cleaning at lower angular velocity. What happens? The shear thinning property is important for the hole cleaning. So most important thing here is the hole cleaning. Okay. Now, next come the density. So have you understood the viscosity is important? There are mainly two terms you have come across here, new terms. One is gel strength and the thixotropic property. Okay. Gel strength is what happens when in static condition, both in the static condition, gel strength and thixotropy both happens in the static condition. Okay. But thixotropy is the once it has got a shear thinning property. That means the viscosity reduces. Okay. So that is the two terms you have come. So for cleaning the hole, we need to have a viscous mud with a thixotropic property and with an optimum gel strength. So these are the three things which are related to viscosity for cleaning the hole. Now next comes the density. Now in the first slide you must have seen it maintains the pressure. It maintains the pressure. So density has a positive effect removing the drilling cuttings. What happens if the drilling cutting is very, very heavy? The density, you see, the fluid density is important for the cutting to come up, for the cutting to a floating condition. You see, what happens? You must have heard the terms that people don't get drowned in the Dead Sea. Why? Because Dead Sea, the water is highly saline and then density of water is very high. So when you go swimming, if you don't know swimming, still you float because the density of that water. Same thing is here. Because of the density, if high, then cutting will not difficult for the cutting to settle down. Cutting will be floating condition, it can come up. So density of the fluid is very important for the removal of cutting also. More buoyancy means greater carrying capacity. Buoyancy, you must have seen, that's how you must have read the word buoyancy, how the sea floats in water. So if the buoyancy is more, then the cutting carrying capacity to prevent the cuttings from falling down. If that I just told you, one cannot get drowned in the Dead Sea, same thing happens. The cutting will not settle down because of the density of the fluid. Okay. What happens? Viscosity and density both are important. If the viscosity is very high and density is low, then when viscosity is very high, you run the pump, you have a problem. Okay, the pressure will go up. So you have to maintain a balance between viscosity and density so that the cutting will not settle down and it will come from the well, out of the well. High density fluid can clean the hole very well with low angular velocity. Now, if a fluid density is very high, it can clean the hole easily. Okay, and this annular velocity terms we'll discuss in the rheology, because here the new terms are coming here. I cannot go explaining each term here because it will become a very big lecture, since it's just an introduction. So I've given an introduction of this fluid. So when we discuss in detail about the rheology and hydraulics, there again we'll discuss about the annular velocity and other new terms that have come up. So just now you can understand the basic thing. However, mud is heavier than necessary to balance the formation pressure as negative impact on drilling operations. So what happens again, if you cannot just keeps on increasing the density of the mud to clean the hole, if you go on doing that thing, there is a, you see, there is an optimum for everything. You just cannot, you see, if you think I can take a bulk medicine so I can get cured immediately, that's not possible. So you have to take the medicine the optimum limit. You cannot take like 1000 mg of antibiotics so you can get cured. So it will have adverse effect on the body. Same thing here also. If you just increase the density is very high, then it will not, it can clean the hole, no doubt, but it will have some other effect, adverse effect, like it will damage the formation, it can fracture the formation. There are many other problems you face. So there is an optimum. You see, there is an optimum to everything. Your density should be optimum, which is you cannot go beyond that. The viscosity should be an optimum so that you cannot go beyond that or less than that. So you, as a mud engineer, your job is to maintain the optimum parameters which can help in cleaning the hole and other, what are for the purpose for which drilling fluid is used. So use thixotropic fluid is shear thinning properties with a strong low shear rate viscosity and a plug flow conditions. This thing we'll discuss in a very detail. What is plug flow and what are the shear thinning, all these things. An easy method if the drill solids are being effectively removed by the mud is to compare the sand content at the flow line and the mud suction. What happens? To check whether your drilling fluid that you are using is able to remove the cutting. Exactly. So what you do, just make a comparison. What you do, you measure the sand content. How you measure the sand content? Those things will come in later in this lecture. So what you do, you take the sand content, the flow line, the mud suction. Mud suction means from where the mud is going. That is from suction. You take a sample and measure the sand. Then after the mud comes out, again you measure it. So you can know whether the drilling fluid is able to bring the cutting properly or not. Okay. Now you see here, removing cutting from the well bore, you can see the diagram here that will give you more clear picture about this thing. Now the most important parameter is the annular velocity. What is that? This is called the annulus. Annulus means the space between the hole and the drill string. This thin line is, this one is the drill string, this is the bit, this is the drill string, and this is the hole. And the space between these two is the called annulus. So the velocity of the fluid inside the annulus is called the annular velocity. The velocity at which the fluid moves in the annulus is called the annulus velocity. So if the annular velocity is insufficient to clean the hole, the viscosity must be increased. What happens? You see, now the drilling fluid is entering through the drill string, coming out of this one, and this they take this cutting along with them to the surface. Now, if you see that the annular velocity is insufficient, if you find the annular velocity is not sufficient, then what you do? You must increase the viscosity must be increased. For top hole, high viscosity must be used. So what happens? You have to increase the viscosity. So how you measure the annular velocity? The annular velocity measured is pump rate. That is how pump rate is barrels per minute. How many barrels the pump is discharging per minute? Okay. Then divide by the annular volume. Annular volume is, what is the volume of this annulus? That is barrels per feet. Okay, how many barrels per feet is the volume of this annulus? So you take the pump rate and you can measure the pump rate. Okay, then you divided that by the envelope volume. Envelope volume can be calculated. What you do, you calculate the hole volume. That is, this is a circular hole. So normal formula is pi r square. Okay. So you know the radius of the hole. So that is the, suppose you are drilling a 12-quarter-inch hole. Okay. So you know the 12-quarter is the diameter. So the radius is, that is like suppose 6.212 something like that, 125. Okay. And you calculate the volume. Then you calculate the volume of the string. This string. Okay. You know the string volume. That is the 5-inch drill pipe, suppose you are using. So 5 is the diameter. So take the radius, you know the volume. So this minus this, that is the whole volume minus the string volume, will give the envelope volume. So you take the pump rate divided by the envelope volume, which is the envelope velocity. This calculation you can do manually, but nowadays also there are many softwares are there. So you just put the numbers, you can get the value. Now, slip velocity, what is the slip velocity? This cutting velocity minus envelope volume. That is, slip velocity is the cutting velocity, that is at what rate the cutting is falling down, minus the envelope velocity will give you the slip velocity. Okay. So cutting is harder in deviated and horizontal holes as the vertical component of the mud is reduced. Now, this is the diagram of a straight hole. Sometimes what happens, we drill deviated hole. Okay. In the deviated hole, what happens? There is a different ball game is that. So we are not going to discuss the deviated hole here. We are just discussing the vertical hole here. Okay. Now, and we have seen the very first slide that one is the removal of cutting. Next, the control formation pressure. As I told you, the formation, there may be oil, there may be water in the formation, there may be gas in the formation. Unless you balance the formation pressure, then those fluids may come to the hole, and that will create problem for you. So to balance that pressure, we need to have a drilling fluid with sufficient density. Okay. So one of the main function of drilling fluid is to keep the formation pressure under control. The pressure exerted by the mud column in static condition is called the hydrostatic pressure. So what happens? The pressure exerted by the connecting to body. Okay. The pressure exerted by the fluid is called the hydrostatic pressure, because the drilling fluid is the string. If you go to the previous diagram, if you go to the previous one, now if you go to the diagram here, you see the hydrostatic head means the fluid is here. The pressure exerted by the fluid is called the hydrostatic pressure. Okay. And hydraulic pressure is the product of the mud weight and the true vertical depth. Now, mud weight is, you know, the density of the mud. How much ppg? 11 ppg, 12 ppg, 13 ppg, 14 ppg. What is the density of the mud? So, the density of the mud multiplied by the vertical depth, and the how many meters are here, how many feet are meters. If you are using ppg, then you have to use feet. Okay. What is the depth? So that multiplied by the density will give you the hydrostatic pressure. So what happens when you are drilling a hole and you are designing a drilling fluid? You must know there are two things comes here. I can just tell you. The the geologist can give you the formation pressure. What is the formation pressure? The geologist normally gives the formation pressure. So if you know the formation pressure, you have to maintain a hydrostatic pressure which is more or equal or more than the formation pressure. And if you know the hydrostatic head, what's the hydrostatic head, and you know the well depth, then you know the density. So you can, if you know the density, you can maintain the density accordingly. Okay. Now, next. Force pressure typically increase with depth. If you keeps on drilling further, okay, then the formation pressure, normally what happens, it increase as you go deeper and deeper. That's why I told you in early days when they're just drilling well, like few hundred feet or 1000 feet or 2000 feet, that was okay, or 1000 meters. But now since we are drilling whole of 5, 6, 7, 8,000 meters, then we are facing very high pressure, very high formation pressure. So if you are facing high formation pressure, then you need to high density fluid. Okay, those are the new problems that the drilling industry is facing nowadays. So to compensate for this, we increase the density of the mud with barite. You see, as I told you, for increase the viscosity, we use bentonite or xanthan gum. For increase the density, we use barite. Mostly use barite. There are other chemicals also there, like iron oxide is there, micromax, the manganese tetroxide is there. These are the chemicals also used for, but 90% cases, those are the special cases. But mostly people use barite. Barite is nothing but called the chemical name is barite is barium sulfate. Barium sulfate is a rock. It's a mine product. So they take the rock and powder it, and then that powder is added to the drilling fluid. And the specific gravity of this barite powder is 4.2 Sg. 4.2 Sg is the specific, 4.1, 4.2 is the specific gravity of this barite powder. So barite is used, yes?
You say 4.1?
It is for?
You say the barite, say the volume is it 4.1 or?
No, the barites used, yeah, you get it from the mines. You use this barite is used to maintain the density of the mud, because bentonite will not give you density. Bentonite give you the viscosity. Barite will give you the density. Okay, so there are few chemicals you have to add. As I told you, take the water, then add different chemicals to that to get a water-based mud. If you take oil, then add this bentonite and other things to that, then you get a oil-based mud. Okay. So mud weight must be limited to minimum necessary to control the well, maintain stability. You see, you cannot increase the mud weight as such. Why? I can just tell you why. Because in the formation, two types of pressure are there. One is called formation pressure, another is called fracture pressure. Fracture pressure, at what pressure the formation will frack, that means it breaks. At what pressure the formation will break. And the formation pressure, what is the pressure in the fluid, the pores? What are the fluid in the pores, or the pressure of those pores, fluid of this thing? So what happens if you increase the density without any control? Then the problem is that it will fracture the formation, which you don't want. You don't want to fracture the formation. Suppose you take a a piece of wood, and you know there is a certain pressure the wood can take. If you put more pressure on the wood, then it will break. So same thing happens in the formation. If you put more pressure on the formation will break. Okay. Now, the pressure gradient of a normal formation can vary from, like, this is the normal, this is very normal thing, but it can change. This is statistical figures, so it can change from place to place, but this is the normally it happens like that. Now, caving. You see what happens. What is caving? What is first thing is, what is caving? When you drill the hole, you drill the formation, the side the formations are there, and there are some formation which have a tendency to fall down. It can't hold it. So when the formation cuttings fall down into the hole, that is called the caving. So this caving has to be stopped. For the, if it starts caving, then it can hold your string. Now supposing this is the string, okay, this is the string, this is the hole, it is here. If everything comes like this, then it can hold the string. You see, the cutting falls down, the caving happens, then So you cannot move the string up and down. So what have you have to control that caving? How to control it? Valve stability is a function of mechanical, physical, and chemical characteristic. Okay. Ledges and vertically dipping formation break up and fall into the hole if a high differential exists between the formation and drilling fluid. You see, if the formation pressure in there is a difference, lot of difference between the formation pressure and the drilling fluid density, then there's a chance of these cuttings to fall down. So you have to maintain a proper density. And you see what should be the density? The density is always should be less than the fracture pressure. You see, you must have two pressure, very important two things, two pressures are there. One is the formation pressure and the fracture pressure. So your drilling fluid density should be more than the formation pressure, but less than the fracture pressure. Now, another thing is that swelling of clays and heaving sails. You see, when you go with the clay chemistry, we'll discuss about that thing. There's a particular type of clay, mostly you encounter while you're drilling a well, that is called the shales. Shales is nothing but a clay, but shales have a characteristic and a tendency to swell when it comes in contact with water. So since you are using a drilling fluid, which is water-based mud, suppose you are using a water-based mud, main phase the water, and when this water comes in contact with the shale starts swelling. When it starts swelling, after a certain time, it falls down. Okay. So swelling of this clay and the heaving of the shales will decrease the drilling rate and increase the possibility of stuck pipe and fishing jobs. Fishing, again, a new term. We'll discuss about this fishing in the later discussion. There, you see, there are a lot of new terms are coming. I'm not going in detail to the new terms. I'm just telling you the basic introduction. Those new terms we'll discuss as we go ahead with the different lectures in the future classes. So first, what is that? We have read there. The first thing is you need to have a viscosity to remove the cutting, and you need to have a density also to help in removing the cutting, and you need to have a density to maintain the formation pressure. Then you need to have a density to maintain stop caving of the cuttings, that is falling down. If you have pressure, then it will not cave down. You can hold it like this. Supposing if something is falling down, what you do? You put some pressure there. It will not fall down. Okay. So same thing happens here. Okay. Now, the cement job is a determining factor to effective association between formation and guarantee the reliable completion. You see, cement job, after you drill the hole, then you have to do a cement job. Okay. I think Bhoma will teach you about cementing. So that he will discuss everything, how cementing is done. So the mud must maintain the condition of the hole so casing can be run. You see, when you drill the hole, unless the hole is very clean, when you're drilling, you're using the drilling pipe. But once you drill to the target depth, then you remove the drill pipe, then you start lowering a casing. What is a casing? Casing is nothing but a pipe, seamless pipe. There is no welding there. That's a big seamless pipe. Okay. So you have to lower the casing. Like supposing if you have seen any drilling of a water well in your areas, what they do, the truck fellow will come, the driller with the truck, they drill the hole, then they lower some pipe inside the hole. Some are the perforated pipes, some plastic pipes they lower. Those plastic pipes are nothing but casing. Here, these are not plastic pipes. These are metal steel, special type of steel pipes, which is high resistance, tensile strength of steel pipe. Okay. So what happens? You should have maintained the stability of the hole. That means there should not be caving, there should not be pressure coming, there should be cutting falling down. If you maintain those things, then only if a very hole is clean, then you can. If you're using a proper drilling fluid, then the hole is clean. So once you remove the pipe also, there is no problem. So you can lower the casing. So when you lower the casing, when the running casing, mud must be fluid and at the same time minimize general pressure losses. So what happens, you have to maintain a drilling fluid, which is remove the cutting. There should be any cutting in the hole. The foundation pressure should be stable. There should be any caving. In that case, you can lower the casing. If any of the problem comes, then you face trouble in lowering the casing. Okay. Also, we discuss about cool and lubricate the drilling string and bit. That's also we have seen. So circulation of drilling fluid cools the bit and drill strings assembly to temperature lower than the bottom hole temperature. You see, as you go deeper, there are two things happens. One is the temperature down below is higher than the formation surface temperature. If you drill a hole, you find this is hotter. If you go 1000, 2000, 3000 meters down, it is very hot there. That's number one. Number two is the friction. When you rotate the bit, because the friction of the formation, it generates heat. So there are two types of heat is being generated. One is the formation temperature and the heat generated by the friction. So you handle all these temperatures there, it's heated up, then you have to cool it. In some cases, what happens, they have to cool in most of the cases, if a high temperature well is there, but that means the temperature is very, very high. Bottom hole temperature is very, very high. And when you circulate the mud, when it comes up, the temperature is also still high. And the aerial cooling is not sufficient. In such cases, they have other type of cooling methods are applied to that. So the cooling of the bit is very, very important. Since the formation of poor conductor, heat has nowhere to go. You see, formation is a poor conductor. Okay. So when the heat is generated, that is heat inside the hole and the heat due to the frictional forces, the heat cannot go. So the fluid takes up the heat, and when it comes to the surface, it dissipates. Because it comes to the surface, and because of the aerial cooling, the temperature goes down. And again, when the drilling fluid enters in the hole, it has already cooled down. Again, it brings the heat from the formation to the surface. So we have to cool the bit. Unless the bit is cooled, then the bit may fail, because the bit is always designed to work on certain temperature, because the bearing is designed. There's a lubricant also that is designed. So if you don't maintain the proper cooling, then the bit may fail. Okay. And to lubricate, give a proper lubrication, sometimes the mud gives a lubrication, and sometimes also we add some lubricant to the fluid. Okay. So how you know that the lubricant is not proper? If you have a high torque or drag. What is torque or drag? While you're drilling, if the lubrication is not proper, sometimes you find that there is a reverse rotation sometimes takes place. Okay. That is called the torque. Okay. So you feel the what do you call, the driller can feel that thing, that the lubrication is not proper. Sometimes if the lubrication is not proper, the driller will call the mud engineers, saying that, okay, there is I'm facing some problem. I think this lubricant is not okay. So you must see that it is properly lubricated. So in such cases, what happens? We add some extra lubricant to some oil type of things to the mud to increase the lubricity. Maybe the water-based mud, because the water may not be sufficient to give a proper lubrication. So what you do, we add sometimes some external lubricant to lubricate it properly. Okay. So cooling and lubrication is very, very key. So first thing is the cutting removal, then maintaining the formation pressure and maintaining the caving, and third is the cool and lubricate the bit. This is the main purpose of the drilling fluid. Now, what is this transmit hydraulic power to bit? We have seen there. Okay. Now, hydraulic power, when you drill the hole in the bit, I will discuss detail there. In the bit, there are some, they call it nozzle. There are 3-4 nozzles are there. Through the nozzle, the mud goes out. So it helps in the drilling process. So if unless the mud passes through this thing and it helps in the remove the cutting. So that is called the hydraulic power of the bit. So remove cutting under the bit and up to the surface run. What happens when you're drilling? It's a drilling like this. There's a cutting below the drill bit. So how this thing will come? So this jet will give a jetting pressure. So the cutting will come out and come to the surface. Okay. Now the hydraulic program is based on using right diameter nozzle. That's the nozzle of the bit, pump efficiency, choosing proper circulation pressures and rates of the hole conditions. So when you see the diagram of the bit in some of these lectures, we can know this thing. You see, this is a total package. So in one lecture, it's not possible to cover everything. So drilling fluid is a total package. So unless we discuss different points at different point of time, things gets clear. So don't get confused now. Don't think, oh, what's all confusing, how to understand that, how to understand that. Don't get confused. When you go along with the lectures and different discussion, these things will become very clear to you one after another. Okay. So the next purpose is the to transmit the hydraulic horsepower to the bit. That is the purpose of the drilling fluid, which helps in remove the cutting. And what is the formation evolution? What happens when you drill the hole? We drill the hole. Okay. No, we just cannot drill the hole as such. You have to depend on some geological and geophysical information we gather from different sources. Then we drill a hole in a particular place. Now, when you drill the hole, what happens? Oil is not from the surface. Maybe you get oil after drilling 2000 meters or 3000 meters. The oil is there after 3000 meters. So you don't know at what depth this oil is there. How you know it? Okay. So what happens after we complete the drilling? We do some formation evaluation. Formation is nothing but it's called the logging. Logging means we lower a device through a cable to the depth of the hole and we gather some information from there, and those information gather, and because this device can test some of this information that we gather, then come to the surface, and from those information we can know that there is oil. Okay, and then we take production from there. So what happens, that process of lowering the device and measuring the parameters is called the logging process. So what happens, the types and composition of mud in the hole determines the quality of data from electric logs that measure the electrical. We measure these parameters: electrical, sonic, nuclear, and magnetic resonance properties of the formation. We measure the electronic properties. Sonic means sound properties. Now, how sound properties are measured, I can give you an example. What happened? You must have heard the sound travels faster in a dense medium. That means the medium is denser. It travels faster than which is not dense. That means if you see that in the iron, if you take the iron, sound travel faster than in the air. Okay. So here what happens? In the logging process, what they do, they lower a device and create a sound. That sound travels to the formation and it gets reflected and come to the surface. Then you measure the sound traveling and coming back. What time? Supposing now you have created the sound, and at what time you are listening sound from different sources. So you get sound from different sources, and oil is less dense than water, and again is less than the formation stones and cuttings on those things. So you get sound faster from the cutting, but if there is oil, you get in a very later time. So what happens, you gather these data, these nuclear, electrical, sonic data from the logging process, and from there you ascertain the presence of oil at what depth, then you start production from there. So to get this data, your drilling fluid should be proper. That means drilling fluid should be, what is that? It should be proper conductor. That means the sound wave, electrical wave, and the magnetic wave should pass through the drilling fluid. If it is not a good conductor, then you may not get the proper data. Okay. So precise formation is mandatory. Without it, we must core, run, DST, and conduct flow test. All these formation methods are affected by the drilling fluids. So drilling fluid affects these the evaluation method. Okay. Now, so you have seen that in the very first slide, we have some should and should not. Should means we have to do all these things, that is cooling the bait and remove the cutting and formation pressure, maintain formation pressure, control caving. Those things are should. And other side, in the very first or second or third slide, you have seen that there are some should not. Should not means it should not damage the formation. What is damaging formation? If in the formation there are pores are there and the oil is inside the pores. So if you close these pores, then how the oil will come? The oil cannot come out. If they close this, they block the pores. So that is called the damaging the formation. If your drilling fluid damage the formation, then you will not get oil. So you should use such a drilling fluid which will not damage the formation. Okay. So nowadays, that's why they're using the what you call the there are different type of drilling fluids are being used, which is you cannot stop the damaging of damage formation will be there, but you can reduce the damage in the formation. Okay. So how the formation is damaged? Because the swelling of the sails, of the drilling cutting, of these the chemical that you used, all this emulsion form, all these things are damage the formation. So your drilling fluid should be such that it will less of a solid, it will stop the swelling of the sails, control the swelling of the sails, so that what happens, it will not damage the formation. So that should not, your drilling fluid should not damage the formation. So you must design a drilling fluid which should not damage the formation. And seal permeable pores and fracture forms. Permeability is a measure. You must have heard about this word, which is permeability and porosity. That is, pores mean their holes are there. If the holes are joined together, that's called the permeability. So if the formation is porous and permeable, then only oil can flow into the well. Otherwise, if the blockage, then it will not flow. When the pressure in the mud column is greater than the formation pressure, liquid, what happens? That's why I told you the density. If you have a high density mud, then the solids from the mud will penetrate into the pores and damage it. So that is the important thing. So as I told you in the very beginning, there is an optimum to everything. You should have a optimum density. You should have optimum viscosity, so that you will not damage the formation due to this process. Otherwise, you can damage the formation. Okay, so that formation damage has to be controlled. Then the filter cake also is response. What is a filter cake? Again, that's a new thing. Filter cake is nothing, but when you drill a hole, you are drilling a drilling fluid. A drilling fluid contains bentonite or some other cuttings are there. So what happens? Because of the pressure, the fluid goes into the formation and it forms a cake. It forms a cake in this side of the wall. That is called the filter cake, because the cake is due to the process of filtration. That is called the filter cake. Okay. So what happens if you have a very thick filter cake, then again it may damage the formation. So your drilling fluid should be sufficient, proper solids should be there, and the viscosity and gelation should not be very high. There are all these parameters has to be controlled so that you can get a proper filter cake. So to minimize the formation damage, you should maintain a optimum density. That is, density should not be too much. There should not be any solid. You should proper viscosity so the solid get removed. That means if you clean the hole, then you have less solids. If the solids are less, then you have less formation damage. If your density is optimum, then you have less formation damage. You have less of solid and proper viscosity, then you have a thin filter cake. Again, it will less of formation damage. So to minimize the formation damage, you have to have proper viscosity. You see, in the drilling fluid, there are two very important parameters, viscosity and density. They are very, very two important parameters. And if you maintain these two parameters to play with everything. Okay. Now, if it tight, what happens when you have a thick filter cake? These things, of course, we'll discuss in some of these later lectures, that you have a tight hole and poor log, Bilsting failure. Okay. As I told you, the minimize formation damage, and you should have a proper formation evaluation. So if you have formation, if you have a very poor filter cake, then you have a formation evaluation. That is, the log quality will be poor. So formation evaluation will be very, very poor. Okay. Now, again, these are all minimize formation damage, treating the filter cake, calcium carbonate and LCM. These are the, again, minimize the filter, the formation damage. Now, control corrosion. Again, I have seen you should not. Drilling fluid, you should design drilling fluid such that it will minimize formation damage and it should control corrosion, so that you should use such chemicals that it will not corrode your tubulars and the surface equipment. Because in the drill side, most of them are metal. They are not aluminum, they are iron. So your pump, all the pump liners, everything are iron. Then the drill string is iron. So is there always there is a chance of getting corroded. So minimize that corrosion. You should have a proper drilling fluid so that the corrosion is minimized. You see, because drill string and casing are constantly in contact with the drilling fluid and well fluids, they are constantly subject to corrosion. Electrolysis stress contaminants such as soluble salt, dissolved oxygen, carbon dioxide, hydrogen sulfide can cause. You see what happens when you are drilling a well. Sometimes some of the wells you come across hydrogen sulfide. Hydrogen sulfide comes and it corrodes your equipment. So what happens? You should add some chemicals into the mud so that the hydrogen sulfide get neutralized and will not corrode it. Okay. So then in that case, you have to, what you do? You add some of these things, that is a oxygen scavengers and ironite sponge, zinc oxide, and you maintain a pH. If you see, you maintain a very low pH, then there is acidic corrosion. If you maintain a very high pH, then there will be alkaline corrosion. So you have to maintain a pH between this range to minimize the corrosion. Okay. So what happens? You should design the drilling fluid to minimize corrosion. You just cannot add, keeps on adding a lot of things. So you can achieve, you can clean the hole, you can balance the formation pressure, but what happens? It might lead to corrosion. So you have to minimize that also. You see, even if supposing by balancing the act, your maybe such happens that the cutting removal may not be 100%, but to achieve 100% cutting removal, if you face corrosion, then it is better to minimize cutting removal, but minimize corrosion also. If you achieve one thing, you keeps on increase the viscosity and increase the density, okay, then what happens? You can add a lot of things, then you can end up with formation damage, then you may end up with some corrosion problem. So you have to be very, very particular about these things. Okay. So in drilling fluid system, mud properties must keep the essential functions and at the same time minimize problem in the well. So this is the gist of this thing. So first thing is drilling fluid system is must keep the essential functions. Essential function is what? Remove the cutting, balancing the formation pressure, avoid the shale swelling, okay, and avoid formation damage. These are the essential functions, and also minimize the problem. So you have to have an optimum to these things. The topic develop this chapter are guidelines for selection of the fluid. The self-drilling fluid must be based on generic experience and developed in an inside experience. What happens? Of course, if you are a new mud engineers working the rig, you will get a mud program. Everything will be there. What should be the parameters? If you face this problem, what should be the additive you have to add? How much bentonite to be add? How much barytes to be add? But sometimes what happens with experienced people learn a lot of things, and they take their own decision. Those things you can learn through experience only. This training gives you the basic characteristic, basic idea. But once you start working, you get, with experience, you learn a lot of things. Now, what is happening? Because you people are not seen the mud flowing. So when I say something, it may you feel how it looks, how it flows. There's a very peculiar things. Okay, but I think is a in your training there's a part also rig visit. So when you visit a rig, when you have read these things and visit the rig, you see those drilling fluid there, and testing of the drilling fluid in the rig itself. Visit the laboratory, you see the laboratory testing. So those things get clear one by one. Now, how you design a drilling fluid? So you just cannot design something. You have to have, like, suppose designing a house. When you design a house, you take different things into the conditions. Okay, what is the soil type? Where from you get the water? Where is this should be your windows and doors? You design a house based on certain parameters. How many family members are there? How many bedroom you need? Those things when you design a house. Here also, when you design a drilling fluid, you take into consider these factors. First is well design. What is well design? Well design is not that when you drill a hole, we don't drill a hole of the same size from the top to bottom. We drill a hole of different sizes. We start with a bigger size hole at the top, then we go smaller. Maybe the top hole will be 17.5-inch hole. Then you go to a 12-quarter-inch hole. Then you go to an 8.5-inch hole. Then you go maybe 5-inch hole, depend. So it depends on well design is how many size of hole you are drilling to achieve to get to the target depth. So that is called the well design. So that is the first thing you have to take when designing a drilling fluid. You have to see the how many casings are there, what are the different types of holes are being drilled. These are the number one. Number two is that what is the formation pressure and rock mechanics. That means, as I told you, the formation pressure and fracture pressure. Rock mechanics is nothing but it gives the fracture pressure. So you must know what is the formation pressure and fracture pressure. That also you have to take into consideration. Formation chemistry. Formation chemistry means whether the formation contains shale or salt, or you are going to face some hydrogen sulfide conditions are coming. So these are the chemistry of the formation. Then the need to limit damage to the production formation. And that also you have to take into consideration. Then comes the temperature. What is the temperature? If the high temperature well, then you have to design such a mud that it can take care of the temperature. Because when the additives, every additive they're adding has a stability. It is stable up to certain temperature. Beyond that, it will not stable, it breaks. So when you're drilling a hole, you must know what should be the temperature so that you can design what type of chemical you're going to use so that you will not face a problem. Next is environmental regulations. This is very, very important because it varies from country to country, region to region. Like you see what happens in many countries, particularly European countries, you cannot throw, if you're using a oil-based mud, you cannot throw the mud and the cutting into the sea. This is the condition of those countries. So these are the environmental considerations. You cannot throw it like that. It will damage the sea animals. If you are drilling in a forest, there may be some forest animals. If you are drilling in the near a river, there may be a river. You cannot damage the water like there. So you have to, like when I was working in Oman, there were conditions because in Oman, you know, it's a desert. So they have some aquifers are there, underground aquifers. That means there are some water flowing in the underground. So they cannot damage that water. So when we design a mud, we see that the water aquifer is not damaged. That is the government regulations. You have to follow it. If the government comes to know that you are damaging this thing, then you may be punished. Next comes the logistics. Logistics means supposing if you are in an offshore location, so if you are very, very far off locations where transporting things become difficult. So you have to see which chemicals you are going to use. Okay, so that your transportations become easy, not a face a problem. There are many chemicals like calcium chloride. Transporting calcium chloride is very, very, very difficult. If the moisture conditions get heated up. So you have to see if you avoid using those things. If you have a transportation problem, there's a rain somewhere, These are the things. Like in tropical countries where it rains too much, they face a problem with these things. Because logistics is a problem there. The economics. Most important is economics. Now, supposing I can tell you, in India, we have bentonite mines are there, and it's very, very cheap because we have a lot of mines. We are one of the biggest exporter of bentonite. Of course, now China is exporting, but we are also one of the biggest exporter of bentonite. So we prefer using bentonite because it's cheap. But in Middle East, what they do, they use xanthan because bentonite they import anyway. They don't have bentonite, they don't have xanthan. So they have to import both. So they prefer importing xanthan. Okay, so they use the economics plays a role here. So when you design a drilling fluid, you must see these parameters. Based on these things, you design a drilling fluid. Okay, how you design? Supposing if tomorrow you'll become a med engineer and so your boss will come and say, okay, from this well you design the drilling fluid. So what you do, you collect these informations. You see, you go to the geologist, ask him what is the pressure, formation pressure, what is the rock mechanics, what is the fracture pressure. Then you find out what the temperature, what are the government regulations. You have to collect those information. Based on those information, you design the drilling fluid. You cannot just take some chemicals and add it and, oh, okay, this is the drilling fluid. No, you cannot do that. Of course, in some of these areas, people know the rules and regulations. They have already been doing it. So you follow the same pattern. But if you are going to a new area where you are going to drill the well for the first time, then you should be very particular about these things. So these are the functions of the drilling fluid. Now, as I told in the very first chapter, the mud engineer's job is to test all the parameters, and if there is a deviation from the parameters, then you have to treat it. So what are the properties that you have to test? Okay, okay, there's mud properties versus function. The corrective mud can influence its functions. You see, the properties and the functions, the mud properties depend influence the functions. Okay, now suppose the density is the property. It influences the function is what? To maintain the formation pressure. Viscosity is the property. Its function is to remove the cutting. Okay, so these are the property, these are the functions. So what happens? You see, drilling fluid functions is the fluid engineer always need an exchange of conditions to treat and keep optimum drilling. For instance, an out of proportion viscosity increasing improve the hole cleaning. Now you see here, function is the hole cleaning. So the loss of pressure increases. Now, what happens if you just increase the viscosity to increase the hole cleaning, then you may have problem like loss of pressure increases, capacity removing solids in the mud decreases, penetrating rate slows down. All this problem you face. So what happens? The very, very important thing here is the optimum conditions of the properties. Optimum conditions. So let's come to different mud properties that we measure. Now, density. Density is what is that? Mass by volume is the density. So you have to measure the density of the fluid. How you measure the density? Just cannot take a balance and weight. Now you go to this of the vegetable market or to a grocery shop, you purchase something and they weigh it and they say, oh, this is the so many kilograms or so many pounds of the weight. Here you measure the density. How you measure the density? You take, this is called a mud balance. The diagram you see here, this is called a mud balance. In this mud balance, there's a cup here and there's a bar here. Now in this bar, there's a scale which gives you the density. In the cup, you take the drilling fluid, the mud, and put the lead over here, then put it in a place like this, and this is a rider. You just adjust the rider, and here also in the middle you have a spirit level. When you adjust the rider and you see the spirit level is in the middle, then wherever you have put the rider, you see the scale. From there, you can know the density. And in the scale, you have different types of scales are there. In one of these things, you have the specificity, the PPG, the PSI per feet. All these scales are different companies use different scales. Some people use pounds per gallon, some people use specific gravity. So it depends on which company you're working for, which country you're working. So these are the different, this is how the density is measured. Okay. So this is called a mud balance. This is called a mud balance. Okay. Now you see here, this is a conversion. Now supposing you are using a PPG and you can convert it, like 8 PPG becomes 0.96 specific gravity. This is a conversion table. Okay. This is, of course, if you are using a PPG, then you can see this one. If you're using this one, some people, like I can tell you, when I was working in India before going to Middle East, I was conversant with the specific gravity. But when I went to Middle East, people are using PPG. So I had a problem immediately. So because this is the specificity should be this much. I had a clear conception about specificity. So I was referring to this table and know, okay, this many SG or this many PPG. Okay, so that's for my conditions. Now, how to measure the viscosity? Now, viscosity that we measure here in this case is called a mass funnel viscometer. Here, viscosity is measured in time, in seconds. Okay, what they do, you take this funnel and pour mud, and on the bottom of the funnel there's a nozzle. You put your finger, then using this mug, pour mud into that, then hold it like this, then put this mug bottom of this, and then remove the finger, and you see the mud flowing through the nozzle to the cup, and you measure for this 946 milli of mud how much time it takes from the funnel to the transfer of the mud from the funnel to the cup, how long it takes for the 946 ml to come. Based on that, you suppose it takes 25 minutes, 30 minutes, 40 seconds, 50 seconds, 60 seconds. Then you say the viscosity is 60 seconds, the viscosity 50 seconds, the viscosity 40 seconds. That gives you the idea. If it is 60-second viscosity, then the viscosity is very high. Suppose the viscosity is 30 seconds, viscosity is low. So depending on the viscosity that you get, you can treat your mud. Now this is another viscometer, that is a funnel viscometer. This is called a rotating viscometer. Here what they do, here you take the mud here, and this is a mud sample here. This is your written mud sample. This is the cylinder, and there's a bulb in between. That means here's a cylinder, here's a bulb. Okay, now bulb is here, you put mud here, then you rotate this cylinder. When you rotate the cylinder, depending on the viscosity, the bulb get a torque, and this torque is measured. Here is a scale here, dilating port. You can read this one. So from here you can get this information. Based on the information, you measure this viscosity, plastic viscosity, yield point, apparent viscosity. About these viscosities we'll discuss later. What is the importance of this plastic viscosity yield point? Okay, about this thing we can discuss later. Now it's not possible to discuss those things. Next comes the gel strength. How you measure the gel strength? What you do, here you take the mud and gel strength. There are two types of gel strength. Within 10 minutes gel strength and 10 seconds gel strength. That means within 10 seconds, what should be the gel strength? So what you do, you take the mud here, leave it for 10 seconds, then you rotate this one, and from there you get a number. That number gives you the gel strength. Okay. So it's a measure of static condition. As I told you, that's the gel strength you can measure using this one. Once you see these equipments and measure it yourself in the laboratory, things will become very clear. Things will be very clear. Okay, once you do it, just once you do it, you become very clear. This is not very, it's not very rocket science, not a very difficult thing. It looks like that, but it's not difficult. Now, I have told you about the cake formation cake. Okay, mud cake formation. Now here you see the mud cake formation and you measure the fluid loss. What you do, you take this cylinder type of thing, pour mud inside here, then you apply some pressure with a gas cylinder. Once you apply the pressure, because the pressure, the fluid start flowing and you collect the fluid in the cylinder. And from there, you can know how much the fluid loss. And here in the bottom of this cylindrical thing, you come across a cake that gives you the type of cake that you get. Okay. So what happens? Normally people talk about fluid loss. Instead of saying, oh, fluid loss is 4 cc or fluid loss is 5 cc, that means the less the fluid loss, they will have better cake you get. The better the cake, then your formation is damage is less. Formation damage is less. So this is how you measure the fluid loss. Next of the oil and solid content. What happens when you discuss about the plastic viscosity yield point? We can know what is the, yes, any question? Any question? No. So what happens? The oil and solid content. You see in the drilling fluid, you have a lot of solids you are adding. You are adding bentonite, you are adding barite, a lot of solids you are adding. And also, as I told you, sometimes you add some oil to increase the lubricant. So you have to know how much solids and oil is there in the mud. So how you do? Here's a cup. You take mud here, then you heat it using an electrical device. Once you heat it, this gets evaporated, comes here, it cools down here, then you collect with a cylinder. From there, you can know, suppose you take it 10, you have taken 10 ml of mud here. Then the cylinder you collect supposing, let us say, like some 9 ml of fluid. So that means you have 10% solids are there. Because you have got all the fluid 9 ml, so you have got 10% solids are there. That's how you can measure the solids and oil content. And in the fluid also you have oil. Supposing oil is just at the top, you can find oil, maybe 0.5 ml oil is there. So 0.5% is there. So this is how you measure here. Then measure the sand content. I just told you to know your drilling fluid is properly, viscosity is okay or not, the cutting is coming or not. So you measure the sand content. How you measure the sand content? You take, what happens? The drilling fluid inside this is the device. You take the drilling fluid at the top, then put this funnel type of thing at the bottom, then put this one below this nozzle, then you pour water from the top. When you pour water, the sand comes and it get collected here, the sand, because there's an inside this cylindrical thing, there's a screen where through the screen sand can pass. So the sand passes here, so you can know how much sand is collected. So you can know, supposing 20%, 30%, 5%, 10%, how much sand is there, because sand content is very, very important. If a lot of sand, you have to remove that sand. Those things we can discuss about when you discuss about the different type of solids, how it is removed. Okay. So these are some of the physical parameters that you measure. That is, you measure the density, you measure the viscosity, you measure the sand content, you measure the solid content. Those are these different physical parameters. Apart from that, you have to measure some chemical parameters. Now, supposing, what is the chemical analysis? Chemical, how much chloride is there? Because from the chloride, you can know what is the salt content. Now, what happens? Why you measure it? As I told you, in the formation, supposing there is salt. When you drill, a lot of salt will come to the mud. So you must know what is the salt content, because a lot of salt means your drilling fluid will not perform well. There will be coagulation. Those things we'll discuss. Those coagulation takes place. So in that case, you must know what should be the salt content. To know the salt, because sodium chloride is the salt, you cannot measure sodium as such using this method. So it's the indirect method. You measure chloride, then calculate what should be the sodium chloride percent. Okay. Suppose you have add some calcium there. So you measure calcium And from the calcium and chloride, you can measure how much calcium chloride is there. And supposing you have a chloride content X, you total know how much salt is there. From there minus calcium chloride, you can know how much sodium chloride is there. Okay. So this is the chemical test, and also you measure the pH, because pH, as I told you, is very, very important. That is 9.5 to 10.5 pH you maintain. That is very important there. So you have to measure the pH. The pH measurement is normally done using a pH paper. There are some pH paper you must have seen as your college and your schools where you have read. You've seen pH papers. It changes color depending on the pH of the solution. So take the paper and dip in the mud. If you find it change the color, you have a chart. From the color chart, you can see what is the pH. What is the 8.5, 9.5, 9, 10. What is the pH? From there, you can measure the pH. So the basic thing that you measure as a mud engineers is the some of the physical parameters like viscosity, density, then solid contained, sand contained, oil contained, and also some chemical parameters like pH, fluoride, and calcium. So you measure these things, and that gives you then idea about the drilling fluid. And from that idea, you can change you can treat the mud to get the best performance of the mud. Okay. So that's the end of today's lecture. And I can tell you one thing, because I don't know how much you understood, because when I was speaking these things. Okay. So you can go through these, what do you call, this presentation, and Boma will send you the presentation also. He's having it. And also he will send you the record, because we have recorded this thing in the cloud. So he will send the record